So we want to start with those arms out, legs out, really nice and tall, like a helium balloon's pulling you up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to roll the circles of the arms just for a couple, not too many, for 3, 2, 1. And I want those hands down behind the hips and chest stretch. So reaching back, pop the chest forward. But excuse me, and the sneeze. Thank you. Good. And back hands up, back up to the side. Thumbs down this time. Circles again. And 3, 2, 1. Hands forward. Push the knuckles or the palms out. Drop the head between the arms and reach. Stretching those shoulders up to the ears. And stay in that stretch, but leaning to one side. So it opens up down through the shoulder blade to the hip. A little bit of muscles in the back. And over to the other side. And back to center. Release the hands, stand tall. Now for the lower body, we're just going to go down to a side lunge and switch to the other side. Just keep going, alternating side to side. Just do what your knees allow you to do, but trying to track the knees in the same direction as the toes are pointing. Three, 2, 1. Now both knees down into that sumo squat position, just as low as you can tolerate. Okay, then a heel raise 1, heel raise 2, and again. Good for balance. Yeah. Keep going. And last one. Then I'm going to try and test you out for a double. So both heels lift and lower. Bending at those toe joints. One more time. Then straighten those legs. Walk your feet in together. We are still moving into some balance exercises. Off your mat is a little bit easier. You can certainly do it on your mat if you want a bit more of a challenge. Hands can be out wide on the hips, somewhere that's comfortable. I'm just going to start by bending and straightening the knees. Really simple, right? As you bend the knees, I want you to go with the knees forwards over the toes till you get a bit of a calf stretch. Just a very short calf stretch, and then we slow it right down. I want you to bend your knees, then stay here, lift the heels, then balance up with the knees straight and heels back down. Again, knees bent, lift the heels, straighten the knees and heels down. Bend the knees, lift the heels, straighten and balance, and down. One more time, bend, heels up, straighten, heels down, wiggle wobble. We're going to do that in reverse. So knees are straight, we lift up onto the toes, balancing here, then bend the knees but keep the heels off the ground, then heels down and straighten again. So knees are straight, we go up onto toes, then bend the knees, balance, then heels down and straighten. Just one more of these ones. Up onto toes, bend the knees, heels down and straighten. Wiggle wobble. Excellent day. Now we're going to come into a hip distance apart with those feet. So feet roughly hip width apart. Bend into a squat. So like you're sitting on a chair that's behind you. You can go up high in a tall stool or down low in a deep chair, whatever you can manage. I want you to hold here and we're adding arms. We breathe in and breathe out. Reach behind. Reach up, breathe in and behind, breathe out. Up and out. Breathe in and reach back. And in, holding that squat. Strong through the thighs, really good for knees. Supporting the joints of the knees because the muscles are actually taking the force, the load. Last one up. Hold behind. Now we're going up onto toes at the top. Breathe in. All the way, reach behind, breathe out. Bigger movement. Breathe in and down, breathe out. This is a whole body blood circulation boosting exercise. Heart rate should be coming up a little bit as well. Up and down. Last one, up and down. Then we stand tall, hands back. Return to the side. Got the heart rate up, a little bit of body movement. It is cooler here this morning. I'm not sure about where it is where you are. But I'd like you to come to the back end of your mat for me now. Good. Take a big breath in. On the breath out, tuck the chin to the chest and roll forwards like you're reaching to your toes. Let your arms and your head fall heavy. On the next breath out, we're going to roll back up like someone zipping you up in a human suit. Up, 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 up. Roll the shoulders behind. Take another breath in. On the breath out, we roll down again. A bit like a rag doll, just flopping those arms and head forward. Try to go slightly further on this one. And again, breathing out as you roll back up. And shoulders back again. Breathing in. Last one, we roll down inch by inch. Reach it forward. And then bend your knees, walk your hands out onto the mat and knees on the floor into hands and knees position. Cool. Easy, right? So far. So we're going into cat and cow. So arching the back to the ceiling, drop the belly and the chest to the floor, alternating up and down stretches. So arcing your back up like a cat. Good stretch through the shoulder blades, and then like a big cow with the full belly hanging to the floor. Both directions, you can hold those stretches as long as you like, whichever feels good for you. Working the upper, middle, and lower parts of the spine, as well as weight bearing on those arms, all beneficial in different ways. All right, last one. Then find your neutral spine. Find that midpoint between the two. Try to maintain that and then lift your head so it's in line with the rest of your spine as well. We're going to go straight into swimming level 4. So opposite arm, opposite leg, reach out away from midline and back down. Breathe in on the reach, opposite sides and back down. So we're alternating arm and leg. Keeping your back and neck in that neutral spine position. Breathe in on the reach, breathe out lower, and again. So it's a bit of balance work as well.
Alternate, Marie. Awful.
Keep working there.
Laughter is good exercise.
That's correct.
Now we're going to just do 2 more. And then follow me here. Reach opposite arm and leg out. Tap to the floor, lift again. Tap to the floor, lift. Now it's really easy, really tempting for our whole body to kind of start bending with the arm and the leg, but try not to do that, okay? So keeping the back nice and straight in its neutral position. Arm and leg tap and lift, tap and lift. Keep breathing as it comes naturally without holding a breath, please. 3, 2, 1. Return to the floor, other side. We reach and tap and reach up and tap. So doing the same repetitions on the same side, just building up endurance. Still keeping that back as close as you can to neutral. Shoulders aren't tensing up to the ears. Not holding your breath.
She's not telling us how to stop wobbling.
And 4, and 3, 2, and 1. Return. We're going to widen those knees and drop back to child's pose. So just take the hips back as far as you feel comfortable. Let your head fall to the floor. If your shoulders don't like going that far up, they can wrap around to the ankles. Just have a little relax. Gives the wrists a little break. All right, we've got a few more challenging ones coming up next. We're back onto hands and knees. If your wrists need to, though, you can certainly go onto those elbows. But we're on hands and knees. We want the hands forwards of the shoulders. We're going to tuck those toes. You probably know where we're going if you've been here before. Find your neutral spine again. Then strong tummy muscles, strong thigh muscles. We're going to lift the knees and hover them just off the floor an inch or 2. So come up and hold. Keep breathing. Strong hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees back down. We're going to go again. Find your neutral spine. Strong arms, strong tummy. Let's lift. This time we're adding a rounded back hold. So push the spine to the ceiling. Curl the belly button into the spine. Keep breathing. Keep holding those knees just an inch or 2 off the mat. 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees down. Wiggle, wiggle. Little recovery. The last one is the hardest one. And I'll turn front on so you can see. It's still a knee hover hold. But what we're going to try and do is tap the shoulders, okay? As you tap, you can see the rest of my body is swaying a little bit side to side. I want you to try and just minimize that sway. It will move, but we're just going to try to keep it a small movement. Let's have a go. This is a hard one. Neutral spine. Lift those knees. Shoulder tap. Shoulder tap. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hands down, knees down. I want you to come all the way down onto your tummy for your break.
That was a long one. See, nothing. This is nothing. No.
For your first class, a bit of a baptism of fire, really. All right. So you can now rest the upper body. So the head can come down onto your wrists and just face down. Make sure you can breathe, of course, or look up if you need to see what I'm doing. But the rest of the time, head down just so that the neck doesn't get too fatigued. So resting there, I've got my head up just because the audio comes through a bit clearer. So we're starting with the lower body, really simple. Okay, it's a single leg lift and lower, and we're just alternating sides. However, it looks easy. I want you to lift up so far that the knee and the thigh just come off the mat. Alternating legs, and because that's not enough, we're going to try to pull the belly button just up off the floor. Now, it may not move at all, but it's just in recruiting the muscles in the core there, as if a piece of paper should be able to slide under your tummy. I want you to hold that, keep the legs going. Just keep breathing, keep the shoulders relaxed. Pull that belly button off the piece of paper. And 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Legs down. We're going to turn the heels towards each other. Squeeze the heels together and try for a double leg lift. So both legs up off the ground, heels are touching. Knees just off the floor. They can go higher if you've got that range, but don't force it. Arms and head still relaxed down. Keep the legs up and holding. Heels squeezing together. Then we're going to bring those heels to the bum and back out. So the heels are still... There is an alternative. Just give me one more second. So those in and out, almost like a whale kicking. If you can maintain that, please keep going. If that's a little bit too much for you, it's back to the single leg lift and kick your bum back out and down. Single leg lift and kick your bum back out and down. So that's the alternative, which is still working all the same muscle groups, just less load on the lower back, okay? So double or single. If you're doing double, keep the heels touching together, please.
You have your knees on the floor or off?
Off the floor if possible. Knees off the floor.
Just checking.
Last one. And legs down. Well done. Well done.
Oh.
Not much rest though. We're going to move straight into the upper back. So we bring those hands next to the face, elbows next to the ribs. We're going to push just the head, okay? So not much else moves. We're going to keep the nose pointing to the floor, but lift the back of the head to the ceiling and back down. Like you're just going to kiss the mat and lift away. So this is really nice for posture, really nice for any kinked necks that get stiff and sore. Now, what you're doing with those head lifts is putting your neck into some form of extension, but the shoulders need to remain back. So the shoulder blades are almost pulling towards the spine as the head lifts and lowers. Got one more. I want you to lift that head and hold it. Nose still pointing to the floor. This time the hands and the elbows come off the floor as well. Good. And we're going to go hands out to the side, pull back to the hip, lift the chest further. Hands back in, head lowers. Hands wide, pull back to the hip, lift. Hands back in, head lower. Going wide to the T shape, back to the hips, lift the chest. Hands back in, nose down. Hands out, hands back, chest up. Hands in, nose down. Again, out, back, in, and down. Last one, out, hands, back, and hands in. Everything down. You can rest your head on your hands again. Now, I am going to throw, obviously, the challenge at you. You know that I do that, I build up and up and up. So this one is combining both the legs and the upper body together. I'll do the hardest one and then give you some alternatives that you can try if you need those extra easier levels, sorry. So the first one, the hardest one, we're going to do a double leg lift but heels together, okay? Head up. Then as the hands come out, we kick our bum. Then stay here, lift the chest. Then everything returns back to the floor. So legs up, hands out, kick the bum. We haven't done this one before, so it's okay to take your time. If it's a little too much on the brain, then that's okay too. You can just do a leg lift and just repeat the arms, okay? You don't have to do the bum kick, but if you are going to do that bum kick, just remember the legs come up as the arms go out. All right, so there's that one. Legs are up. Keep going with the upper body. If you want the easier one, keep the legs down. Just do the reach to the side and back in. Head lift as the arms go out and back in. I hope I am making some sense this morning. So the harder one.
Similar.
Look, honestly, if you're moving, you're exercising, you're going to get the benefit. It's okay.
Are we going to be able to do something tomorrow?
Yeah. All right, last one. And come on down. I told you I'd challenge you. Let's lift the chest to cobra. So only go up as far as you feel comfortable. I've got a lot of range, so don't feel like you need to come up this far. If you only get to here, it's still fine, okay? But if you can push the whole way up into extension, check that those shoulders are away from your ears, okay? And return back down. Now brace those tummy muscles. Again, push up to hands and knees. We get to stretch and deload all of that. So arcing again to cat stretch, or back to child's pose, or a combination of the two. Okay, whatever feels nice for your body. All of that sequence was an extension bias. So everything along the back side, our posterior chain of the body, doesn't often get direct strength work unless you're an avid gardener. Usually gardeners are pretty good with their posterior strength. All right, next challenge. Let's move on to the side. So we're going to be propped up on our elbow, legs together, feet together, not legs straight. We want legs bent. Now I'm slouched. I want you to keep that shoulder tucked in the socket, all right? Don't let it kind of poke forward. And then hips come up off the mat. So we're lifting up and pushing forward, then back and down. So lift and push and return and lower. Again, up, push, return and lower. If you have some neck issues and this is kind of tugging on that neck, feels a bit tense, then looking down at your elbow on the floor may help. We're going to come up for last one, and on this last one, staying up. Hips up, push forward, hold. Hand above, goes over and lift the hips higher, and then hand to the hip, hold. Again, up and lift higher, back to hold. Last one, higher, back to level, hold, hand on, legs down, and roll out. So we're going to lay down on that straight arm, both legs straight out. This hand in front to help support you, fingertips like they're on eggshells, so it's a very light support. If you're really wobbling all over and you're kind of gripping onto that mat, then it's obviously too hard, so just wait for the modification. But the main thing that I'm going to say lots and lots and lots is to keep this underside waist. We're going to try to pull it up off the floor. So if you're slouched in, you push the top hip down, like towards your foot, lift the waist off the mat, like a trail of ants could crawl in under there. Then top leg up, bottom leg straight. This is really wobbly though. If you do need a bit of support, you can bend that knee. We're going to come straight up and down with that top leg, lift and lower. Keep the underside waist off the mat. As the leg lifts, it's tempting to drop the waist into the floor, so try not to do that. We're going to go up and down for 3 more, and 2, and 1. Then hold, forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. These are small movements, okay, because we want to keep the waist off the floor, the bottom leg straight-ish. If the hand's on the floor in front, that's okay. But again, just a very light support. Forwards and backwards kicks. This is harder than it looks for 3, and 2, and 1. Both legs together. We're not finished yet. Double leg lift. Again, hard work, but you can do it. Both legs higher and lower. Higher and lower. Still got 3, and 2, and 1, and lower both legs down. Top leg gets a rest in front. So you can drop that knee on the floor in front. Bottom leg lift. Forwards and backwards kicks first. So keeping the knee straight if possible, going forwards and backwards. You'll come forwards over the front of your foot, over the top, of your foot. Last one. Then back to neutral, hold it still off the ground. We're going to add in some work with this top arm. We breathe in, reach overhead. Then we're going to lift the head and reach towards the ankle will come higher. Lower back down, breathe in, breathe out and reach. Good, and return, breathe in, breathe out and reach, and return. Again, and return. You've got 2 more to go here. You can push on that underside arm if you need to, help you lift the head. Last one. And lower hand in, and relax for a second, not for long. We're going to bring both hands now behind the head. Adjust and wiggle a little bit so you can roll the shoulders back, chest comes towards the ceiling. Maybe not fully, but just rotate as far as you can. And then those fingertips are just a light support behind the head. We're going to lift to look over the hip, okay? So lifting the head, look over your hip and return back down. Breathe out, lift, breathe in, lower. Breathe out, lift, breathe in, lower. And 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Good. We're both hands round to the front. And now you can push up onto your elbow, legs together into side sitting. So we're going to move the legs so your foot is touching the thigh here. The should be relatively comfortable. Then we're going to go onto the foot behind you and reach over the head. Just as far as you feel you can go, okay? Don't force it beyond comfortable level. Now we go the other side. So down onto the elbow, other hand over, stretching those ribs up. So we're just unloading those obliques and glutes that we've loaded in that series before we then do it again on the other side. We're just going to hold this a bit longer, turn the chest to the floor and reach your hand extra stretch. All right, and release from there. Come on back up to sitting. Roll over or swing your legs the other side. We're going to stay up, propped up on that elbow. Knees together.
The gentlemen haven't got it, Sally.
That's all right. All right, let's have a go at these side plates. Remember, the shoulder doesn't pop forwards, it stays tucked in underneath. The rest you can fiddle around with, but it's those hips up first. Breathe in, lift and push forward and back and lower. And again, lift and push and return down. Lift and push and down. 2 more. Last one now, up and hold. Good. A hand comes over, lift the ribs higher, hips higher, and back to straight and level. Breathe in, stretch them up, back out to level. Last one, over and down. Hips can lower, and you can lay all the way down on your side. Very good. Next one, we've got to keep that waist up off the mat. Take both legs straight to do the hardest one. Bottom leg can bend to make it a little bit better for balance, or hand here in front. Waist is up, top leg up, lift and lower, lift and lower. Good. So the higher that leg goes, the harder it is to isolate the muscle in the hip called your glute med. So just doing, medium to small leg lifts and lowers. And 2 and 1. Then we're going to come up again, forwards and backwards. Wobble, wobble. Keep that waist off the mat. Hand in front if you need it for balance support. And 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. And not resting yet. Double leg lift. Hand down if you need it. Both legs higher and lower, higher and lower. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Both legs down. Well done. Bring the top leg in front. Let it rest on the mat. Bottom leg lift. Forwards and backwards kick. Trying to keep the knee straight. So all these exercises are targeting mostly specific muscle groups, not a singular muscle, but so for example, this one's working the adductors, those groin muscles in the inner thigh, which often is just not specifically addressed and strengthened. Last one. Then we're going to add in those arms overhead. Breathe in, breathe out, lift the head, lift the leg. Good. And relax the head, breathe in, stretch it up and lift. And back down. And lift. And relax. And lift. We have one more. And back down. Hand in. All right. Stay with those legs there. Both hands behind the head. Roll the chest back or open towards the ceiling, just as far as is comfortable. Then when you're next ready to breathe out, we lift and look over the hip and back down. The fingertips are lightly supporting the head. Good. And again. Excuse me, sniffing. And again. And 2. And 1. And hands back around to the front. Legs together, push up to side sitting. Got those mermaid stretches again here. All right, so we're just going to separate the legs slightly so your foot is on the thigh. We're going up and over the foot that's behind you first. And release, let it go down onto the elbow. Other hand up and over. And then from here, we turn the chest down and reach the arm over the top end of your mat. Come back up. That was a nice long stretch. Coming to sitting, facing forwards, facing the screen. I'm going to bring those knees bent, feet in front. Excellent. So a couple little shoulder rolls, take the tension out of the upper body. And then we're going to just take those hands under the knees. I'll turn this way so it's a bit better. Hands under the knees. We're going to just rock back onto those sit bones and just find a bit of balance there so the feet can come off the floor as well. From here, it's easy to slouch, but we're trying to lift the chest to the ceiling, still balancing on those sit bones. And then if you feel like that's not too wobbly, one hand and two hands off. Balance and hold, pulling strong up through those tummy muscles. Hold here, just little toe taps, okay? 1, lift, 2, lift. 1, lift, 2, lift. Balance, chest up, shoulders relaxed away from those ears. Breathing, tap, 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 tap. 2 more. Then hands back on and feet down. It's a little primer exercise. We're now going to come into our upright sit. Hands back into that uphold. Again, chest stays lifted. Breathe in. This time, tuck the tail and roll into a little reclined position, but without slouching. So the chest still kind of props up there. Arms are only here. We breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, hands wide. Breathe in, back up. Forwards, roll up and sit tall. Breathe out, tuck and roll back. Hands up, hands out, hands up. Forwards and sit up. Good, let's go again. Tuck and roll and lift and wide and lift and forwards and up. Good, now this time we tuck and roll and hold. All right, we're going to open and twist to reach one hand behind, back to center, stay reclined, other one twist behind, reach and return and twist and return and twist and return. Last two, twist and return. Last one, twist and up. Hands behind. Open the chest. Pushing the heels and the feet down into the mat. We're going to come into our reverse plank. So hips push up as high as they can, okay? It doesn't matter if it's only an inch or if it's a foot. We come up as high as we can. Collarbones and shoulders open. And 3, 2, 1, hips back down. Stretching your legs out straight. Make sure there's room behind you to roll down in a second.
The counting is different to mine.
I must admit, mine's not necessarily consistent.
Your counting is slow.
All right, so we got those hands here. I want you to lift the ribs, breathe in, fold forwards to breathe out, grab onto your shins or ankles or toes, tuck the head under, and roll back up. Restack the spine, breathe in, lift those ribs again, fold forwards a bit further if you can, and release. Last one the same, okay? Breathe in, lift, breathe out forwards, grab on, hold here, and just very, very gently with every breath out, pull yourself closer towards those legs. No rush. All right, and release. Breathe in again, stack the spine, and breathe out. We roll behind, rolling down to laying down very slowly, and stretch those hands overhead at the end. Then from here, we find that neutral spine position, so that natural curve for your back. We want to keep the core contracted or really supporting the spine in that position. We do opposite arm and leg, lift towards the ceiling and back down. Other side, opposite, up and back down. All right, opposite arm, opposite leg, trying to keep the knee straight. Doesn't matter how high it actually goes. Just want to lift and lower very gently on the lower. And keep breathing. And last two. Still got neutral spine in position. And hands back in beside the body and walk those feet up, knees bent. Very good. All right. So I'm just fixing up my clothes so you can see a little bit better about what my body's doing. So lots of core work coming, big sequence here. Do what you can, stop if you feel like you've hit your point of fatigue. We're starting with leg slides, but your option, if you want to take it, is with the abdo prep or the crunch. So with that, we'll go through that first. We've got fingertips behind the head, elbows stay wide, out in your peripheral vision. We're going to lift the head and shoulders off the ground so you can look between your knees. And your chin is just holding a very soft imaginary peach to the chest. So you don't want to bruise that peach. You just want to hold it there. Elbows wide, legs slide. If you can't hold here, leave the head down and just do the legs. So let's go. Breathing out, legs slide, hover off the floor. Breathe in, return in. Other leg slide and return. Breathing out on the slide, breathing in, return in. As you slide out, it's just a hover off the floor. We don't want to actually have it touching the floor or the mat. Keep that soft peach under the chin, your elbows out wide, your head and shoulders up, looking through the legs, through the knees. And 4, return. 3, 2, and 1. Let your head and hands fall down if they're up. Good job. The next one is much the same but harder because we're doing more upper abdominals. So I'll instruct you on the harder one first. Again, sit it out if you can't. So we're still in that abdo prep position. However, we don't have the arms supporting the head. So it's a lot more neck, upper ab work though. If you find you're straining a lot through the neck, it's just that your tummy's not quite strong enough to hold you in that position. So you can still do one hand behind the head and we'll swap hands halfway through. If you're not doing hand support, arms are reaching to the ankle bones, we're still doing leg slides, okay? But we're still trying to work those upper tummy muscles as much as we can. So what I'd suggest you do is start with that same abdo prep position, lift the head and shoulders, reach one hand and see how both hands feel reaching to the ankles. If you need to return one hand up, please do so. Otherwise, you're here, nice and strong, pulling those ribs to the hips. Breathe out, legs slide out, breathe in, back in. Other leg slide and in. If that's way too much for you, leave the head down, leave the arms down and still doing the legs. We're still working the lower abdominals here with those leg slides. Do what feels right for your body. Keep breathing, of course. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Head and shoulders down. Good job. Now the upper body does get a break. We're going to move into some tougher lower stuff. We're going to bring his knees over the hips, shins parallel to the floor. Lower back not arching off the ground. We're going to keep it tucked into the mat. Hands beside you. Unless those legs feel particularly heavy, you can support them with your fingertips, okay? We're here, instead of a leg slide, it's a straight leg stretch, which is a similar movement. We breathe in to prepare, breathe out, kick that leg straight out, and breathe in, return. Other leg stretch and return. You can stretch the leg higher if that's a bit easier for you. We want to work on squeezing the thigh to straighten that knee completely. Kicking lower if you want more of a challenge. The lower you kick, the more tempting it is for your back to arch away from the mat. So make sure you do control that or kick higher if it starts to lift. Breathing out on the kick, breathing in, return in. Do what you feel you can do. Always use those fingertips to support if you're starting to lose your technique, lose your form. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hug the knees in. Have a little rock and a little wiggle. Not getting a lot of break, but building on fatigue. Next one, we're adding in that abdo prep as well as the straight leg stretch. Okay, so back to tabletop. If you need the hand support, lift here and you can just release one leg at a time. If you don't need the support, you can reach the end of your mat or always one hand behind the head, or of course, 2 hands behind the head, which is easier on the neck, but still hard on the tummy. Lots of options there. Let's get into position, whichever one you want. Breathe into set and breathe out, stretch and return. breathe out, stretch, and return. So chin to the chest, holding that soft peach. Ribs pulling to the hips. Squeeze the thighs to straighten the knees. And hands either supporting the legs or the head or one. We're here for 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Give them a hug, rest the head. We have one more grand finale, which is actually exactly the same as what we did, but faster. So it's a bigger pace. Our last burn. Using whatever juice you've got left, okay? Let's get it done. Knees to tabletop, head up if you wish. You don't have to. Hands wherever you want them. Lots of options there. Whenever you're set, breathe in, breathe out, and switch, and switch, and switch. So straight legs, stretch, and stretch, and stretch. Still keeping strong through the tummy, keeping ribs to hips, chin to chest, head support, or reach. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Return in, hug those knees, roll in a ball in a circle. Other direction. Little back massage. And then we're going to go legs out straight for a long stretch, opening up through those tummy muscles and diaphragm. Excuse me. Stretch those hands overhead. And now we're going to get up to sitting. Couple of options. You can do a beautiful controlled roll up to sitting like that, or we can go rolling like a ball, build up some momentum, throw the legs out and come up to sitting. You choose. You can do a bit of both if you want to play, but come on up now when you're ready. Take a breath out, come up to sitting. Welcome.
Do it that way, but the feet are still.
Very good. Well done. So from here now we're going to tuck one leg in and the other one out straight. Excuse me. Hand, so left leg out, left hand, right leg out, right hand. Turn away now from that leg and reach the other hand overhead. So this is priming up quadratus lumborum, the muscle that's deep in the lower back area. We're now going to spiral slowly forwards towards the straight leg, bringing both hands and chest towards the knee or shin. If you are tight in your QL, this is a nice stretch. If you don't feel it in that deep in that side of your back, then you're not tight, which is great. Usually QLs get tight when your little stabilizer muscles aren't doing their job. So Pilates just primed and got those stabilizing muscles working. Coming out of that stretch, let's do the other leg. Excuse me. All right, same again. So right leg, right hand, left leg, left hand, turn away, other hand overhead. And just very slowly now turning the chest towards that leg, both hands down, pulling towards the knee. And very slowly pushing up out of that. Now into, if you can, cross-legged, otherwise butterfly sit or straight legs is fine too. Whatever is comfortable for you. If you're straight, can't speak. If you're cross-legged, we're just going to bring the hands forward and stretch as far as we can in front. This does get into the corners of the hips. If you're in butterfly sit, just pull on your feet to pull forward. And if your legs are straight, same thing, forward stretch. And now we're pushing back up to sitting. Good. One hand behind. Reaching up and looking over that shoulder. It's a little bit of an extension reach. Over to the front. Other hand behind. Reach and look behind. And back to the front. Good. Both hands around, giving yourself a big hug. Crawl the fingers towards the spine or around the shoulder blades. When you're here, I want you to breathe in, shrug the shoulders to the ears. Breathe out, drop them away from the ears. Again, up and out and down. Good. Now, while they're down low, tilt your head to one side. Over to the other side. And drop the chin to the chest. And release. Everything undone. Over to hands and knees now, just to come up to standing. So I want you to try, if you can, to do downward dog, which is pushing those hips up high, stretching down the backs of those legs, and then slowly walk your hands to your toes. Bend the knees if you need to. Well done. Excellent. Just feel around till you feel comfortable again. Let the blood come out of the head. Very nice. All right, palms forward. We're going to breathe in, reach up onto the toes. And out, reaching down to the toes. Let your head fall heavy. And roll back up. I'm doing that one more time. Same thing. Breathe in and up. And out and down.
I can really touch both my legs straight. First for everything.
And back up. Shoulder roll. Shake your hips. And you're all done. Thank you for joining me.